I'm just gonna send everybody the message that we're live. Um, yeah. Let's see. I think Ducky just backed out. Cause is Ducky
Back.
here? Can he?
Yeah, he's back again.
Okay.
I think he couldn't hear.
Okay. Yeah. Or speak. I think it was the issue.
Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah.
I'm good.
You're good. All right. Perfect. All right. What's up, guys? Welcome for the fourth installment. We're one away from five, two away from six.
Hmm.
Um,
That's a number for
that's a big number right there of the Marvel Buddies podcast. Yeah. All right. So I have brought you another character from the Marvel universe. Um, and this character again has a an alter ego and a superhero name, or if you want to call it a supervillain name as well, you can. Oh, thanks, Hasso 312 for the follow. But yeah, um, I brought you another character this week. If you want to try and guess, I can lead off by telling you that this character debuted in an Iron Man comic in 1959. She was written by Stan Lee and Don Rico. She is a female character, and she was written in the age of the Cold War. So she is a very much a Russian character. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I have no idea who the Russian character is.
Oh,
You said Russian, and I only know, I think, one Russian.
okay.
Um, Black Widow.
That's who we're talking about. Black Widow.
I'm with.
What a G.
Go me.
Go Ducky. Alright, we're talking about Black Widow, whose full Russian name is Natalia Alianova Romanov, or her American name, Madame Natasha Romanoff. Um, in her first comic debut, Tales of Suspense number 52, she was sent by Russia, the KGB, to eliminate a defector, a Russian defector. He was a big scientist, Anton Vanko. Now, Anton Vanko in the comics was the Crimson Dynamo, who was mentioned a little bit in the Black Widow movie. But the character Anton Vanko was mentioned in Iron Man 2 as his son was Whiplash, the main villain. Um, so in the comics, Black Widow was sent with another guy, this like buff dude. To her basic goal was to hunt down the defector and take down Tony Stark, who was a big part of the making of the weapons for America at the time. He was a big weapons maker. Yes. So and then throughout the centuries, you see her coming back as an Avenger, a Thunderbolt, Spy for Shield, a bunch of different things going on. And of course, she's had a long history of relationships with other characters, um, and but hasn't had any kids, obviously because of the Red Room stuff. Um, she's a super spy. Mainly carries Glocks, but she also has the wrist gauntlets, which are the Widow's Bite, is what they're called, and they pretty much shoot like a taser that can kill you, kind of thing. Um, she's also has two staffs that can be put together to be one staff. Just her main weapons. She's master of martial arts, super spy kind of deal. But to get into Tales of Suspense, Black Widow was hunting down Vanko, who was building a super laser, and trying to make it like safe. I don't know why you'd need a safe laser, but they were trying to. And so the Russian leader was upset. Vanko defected and began to work in America and make these weapons in America. So he sent out the Black Widow, Madame Natasha, and Boris the Strongman. They sent him to America via submarine, and out of nowhere, just kind of pulled up in one of New York's many marinas. And so while they were there, um, Boris tried to break into Stark Tech and steal um, and well, basically kidnap Vanko while Natasha was at a party trying to seduce Tony Stark. And it worked. She pretty much distracted him, got him busy, and Boris busted into the facility and stole the Crimson Dynamo suit and kidnapped Anton Vanko, brought him back into the what is it, the submarine. And meanwhile, all the alarms are going off because he busted through a concrete wall, and the alarms are blaring. There was a cop down on the floor, and Tony Stark runs back with Natasha. Um, Tony goes in, he puts on the suit, he tries to like dump her, and because at the time, especially in the 50s, the whole trope was no one knew Tony Stark was Iron Man. They all believed that Iron Man was the bodyguard of Tony Stark, and so he had to kind of go in and ditch her and put on the suit. And when he did, he lifted up the laser array, and like to try and save it, make sure it doesn't like blow up or whatever. And Boris was there in the Crimson Dynamo suit. Tony believed it to be Anton, but it was Boris, and Boris started like beating him up and hitting him. And we get to this really 50s scene of the two of them having to change frequencies in their transistors because that was science in the 50s, and that's how they fought. I it's really dumb. It was like, I've got you now, pew pew pew, and then it was like, oh no, he's modified my transistors, so now my damage doesn't hurt him or whatever. And then it was like, all right, I'm gonna change my transistors so that it can do damage. Oh, but no, he's changed it again. Rats.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate. And so it was just the whole comic was just that, pretty much the fight scenes. And so Iron Man gets kidnapped. And Black Widow's like trying to find Black Widow's trying to find Tony, and she's like, where did that Tony Stark go? I need to kidnap him and make sure to bring him back, or at least kill him. And and Tony's suit wasn't working, so he's like, I gotta find a way to recharge my batteries. Oh, I know. And he like plugs himself into a light bulb. Because a light bulb can power an entire Iron Man suit, of course, and and pretty much that's how things went down. The light bulb powered the Iron Man suit enough so that Iron Man could beat Boris with the same logic that they had before, and save Anton. And Black Widow had to escape. Pretty much what happens is Boris tries to kill Iron Man, but Vanko pushes Boris away and shoots him with the laser that he was making, and the laser ends up killing both Boris and Vanko, as well as like destroying the suit. And Black Widow ends up running away and like hiding out in America as like a wanted fugitive, and Iron Man pretty much tries to track her down. I didn't read Tales of Suspense 52, but from what I understand, it's the comic where at the time Hawkeye was also a villain. Hawkeye picks up Black Widow. He wanted to be a hero, but he picks up Black Widow after stopping it was a bank robbery that he stopped. And Black Widow kind of jumped into his car and was like, drive me out of here. And he did because, Black Widow's super hot. And, of course, he had to drive her out. And, of course. And everyone's like, whoa, that's Hawkeye. That guy that I've never met before is Hawkeye. And he's working with Black Widow. That must mean that and he was holding money bags from a bank robbery. That must mean he's a criminal. And so for a long time Hawkeye and Black Widow were this dynamic duo, and Black Widow kept seducing and charming Hawkeye for a very long time to go after Iron Man. And up until a couple comics after Captain America was reintroduced to the Avengers. Um, the With that Avengers team, if you remember back in Loki, the original team didn't have Captain America. When they introduced Captain America, they dropped Hulk, and then the rest of the team left, and Captain America picked up the Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and Hawkeye. So the four of them kind of became the new Avengers, and that's kind of when they split off. And Black Widow was still a prominent villain, because they liked using these Russian and especially like Russian and Chinese characters because of communism,
Okay.
as a big villain kind of setup for a lot of these villains. It'd always be like, the communist Russians against the capitalist Americans, good America, the heroes, right, kind of thing.
That
And
makes sense.
yeah, and so for a while, that was the deal, but they didn't really get into. This is what she looked like in the comic, by the way. This was her getup, throughout the
She was a
50s and 60s.
leprechaun?
She was in green with a fur coat. And this is what she looked like for a very long time. It wasn't until the 70s, maybe the 80s, like late 70s, early 80s, that you got that like iconic suit of like black latex and the
Hmm.
she no, Black Widow isn't blonde. She's always been a redhead. Back in the 50s, the no, Black Widow does not look like Scarlett Johansson, sadly. Especially in the 50s, she did not look exactly like Scarlett Johansson. I'm sorry. Um, but they didn't get to her actual like origin story up until 2009, which I'm jumping up a lot, but I do want to cover this comic. It's Black Widow's deadly origin, and I didn't get enough pictures of this. I'm sorry. I will make up for it in the next one. But if you guys do want to see more of Black Widow, I can of course recover her. But in 2009, Paul Cornell wrote Black Widow's Deadly Origin, and it talks a lot about her backstory. So it starts off with two men on like a ship, like a spaceship kind of thing, and
Okay.
the pilot and the co-pilot kind of starts talking to the pilot, saying that the co-pilot says like, oh, I should have told you I'm not Russian. I'm undercover for the CIA, and I took your partner in before we took off to the headquarters. And the pilot like triggers something in his arm. It's like a bomb, and it kills the co-pilot's like, well, you can't interrogate him anymore because I just killed him. And then the co-pilot's like, yeah, well, and he smashes like the stuff, like the buttons on the ship, and it starts going into like a free fall. And so
Okay.
the co-pilot pulls off a mask, and that's when you get that, if you remember in Civil War, or not Civil War, the Winter Soldier, Black Widow had that face mask that she'd pull off. Um, when the Winter Soldier, she was that old lady, and then she pulled it off, and it was Black Widow behind it. It's like
Oh, I
the
did not see that.
okay,
Okay.
it's like this face thing that she has, so it lets her face kind of shape shift into someone else's face. But she pulls it off, and it's Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, and she
All
brings
right.
down the ship, pulls the guy out, jumps out, lands in like Vegas, and this dude takes a cyanide pill and kills himself pretty much before he could do anything. And she calls her friend Ivan. She's like, yeah, I didn't really work the way I wanted to. And Ivan's like, whoa, 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 we got big news going on. We got the ice pick protocol starting up, and she has no idea what it is. She's just kind of heard about it. But this comic has a lot of flashbacks. So just be warned if you get a little confused. Let me know. I'll slow down. But it's the first flashback you get goes back to 1929. This was years before her debut. Um, in real life, where Ivan is the guy that she called Ivan is a kind of like an officer in like the Russian military, and this is like during World War One. Some of the what during that first invasion of Germany into Russia, the um the the Germans had blown up a lot of buildings, and so he goes and helps this lady who's like her legs were smashed under a building, and he like kind of lifts it up, and the lady's like body blocking her baby from getting crushed, and she's like, please, please take my child. and Ivan takes the baby, and she's like, raise it. Her name's Natasha. She comes from Romanovan blood, which is supposed to be like high up, very like Russian elite kind of blood, right? And he's like, I'll take good care of her. Um, it's unknown if Ivan is her real father or not, but more or less he is the father that took care of her for a very long time. In Avengers Endgame, um, if you guys remember, if you saw it, the Red Skull says, Natasha, daughter of Ivan. This is the Ivan that raised her. Um,
Alright.
yeah. Um, again in 1933 we cut up, and her father um is he sends her to like a special school to work with this like comrade guy, and the um and she goes to school, and for a very long time she's working under this one guy, this comrade, and her dad. And the comrade, she ends up calling her uncle. um the comrade eventually becomes, you find out his name's Logan, and they eventually work together in the Avengers, Logan being her uncle, or Wolverine. And Wolverine trains her in everything she knows. Like, Wolverine has trained her in every martial art he knows, Muay Thai, Krav Maga, that kind of stuff, Jiu-Jitsu. Um, and um, she's the first real person that she talks to, right? Especially because you find out that Wolverine was undercover, and what was pretending to be a Russian guy. Um, that later that night, Logan goes up to this other guy, Taris, who's been kind of like working with Natasha, and kills him. Kind of like the leader of the room she was, like the red room that she was working in. Um, Natasha could have killed. Natasha says like, I could have killed him. I could have killed him. Probably not, because it's Wolverine, and you know he has that healing factor. But she let him go, and she tried running away, but she couldn't. She couldn't escape the Russians, and she went back to Ivan. And then there's another cut to 1956, and here she's in Berlin. Um, this is right after World War II, like the Cold War stuff, and Ivan's been injured in a similar incident um, to her mom, the Russian woman who died. Yes. His legs and like arms are like really badly beaten and like battered, and
Mhm.
you see this kind of like kid with like a really crappy robot arm walking up and talking to her, and he's like, I can save Ivan and you and prolong your life expectancy, and you can heal every kind of, you won't get infected with any disease, whatever. This is like the perfect thing, but you have to always, for the rest of your life, be loyal to the Russian army. And she's like, yeah, I don't care, sure, as long as you're healing my dad, go ahead. The guy in the crappy arm ended up being James Buchanan Barnes, who is the Winter Soldier. He gives her the serum, and the serum has it's like slightly modified to be Super Soldier Serum. It gets changed a lot more, but it has the increased life expectancy, and like never getting drunk, never getting sick kind of thing. So um he offers it to her in exchange for their loyalty, and you go back in time, back into the like modern times, where Nat is talking to Ivan, and Ivan gets blasted by a shotgun like straight to the stomach, like dude is
Shit.
dead. And on the wall of where he died is like the writings, I will kill everyone you love. um and so Natasha's freaking out because the year is 2009, currently in that comic run. um from 2009 to her creation in 1950 whatever I said before, 1956 was it, 1959, she's been in multiple, like this character has had more relationships than Iron Man has armor. Like, it's a lot. So she has to track down pretty much all of the characters that she's been into a relationship with. um and so as well as investigate the ice pick protocol. Um, so when she goes to the first person she sees when she's at the morgue for Ivan is Bucky, right? Bucky was her first boyfriend. It was a very secretive, very like unallowed relationship where her and Bucky were they were dating, but they had to separate them because Bucky kept getting like through the relationship, Bucky kept regaining his memories of when he was um Bucky Barnes in for the U.S. Army in World War II. So they broke him up and set up Natasha with a like test pilot whose name was Alexei. Now if you guys have seen Black Widow, spoiler, um, if you don't want to hear, you can close up. But Alexei is the Red Guardian, and I know there's a lot of discrepancies with the movie and with Natasha. This was a lot different, so they redid her character, but she marries Alexei, and Alexei helps cover up a lot of things within Black Widow's life. So for one, um, for one, Alexei faked his death in 57. Or later, he was because Black Widow couldn't have kids for the longest time. They had retired, and Natasha was like, "I want kids, I want kids," but she was barren because of the Red Room program. So Alexei was getting annoyed, and he was like, "Please put me in an assignment, get me away from her," kind of thing. And he's like, "Sure, we have the new super soldier serum that we want to try out." And they turned him into the Red Guardian, faked his death in a space race program, and hid him from Natasha. And um, for the longest time, Natasha was like, I want to go get revenge on the Americans. I want to go after the Americans. And it kind of ties into her trying to attack Tony Stark back in the 50s, in 59, right? Because this was around the same time as her original debut in the Marvel Comics. Um, and so, um, you cut into the modern times, and Black Widow and Bucky break into a Russian facility where they want to investigate the Iceberg Protocol, but they're stopped by a giant Iron Man suit, and it turns out they've remade the Crimson Dynamo into what is called the Federal Dynamo, and it's just like an Iron Man, like Iron Legion. If you remember, did you guys see Age of Ultron? You
Yes.
remember those Iron Man like AI robots that Ultron ended up taking over in the beginning of the
Yes,
movie?
yes,
Yeah,
I do.
it's pretty much what it is. It's just piloted versions of that. It's just a bunch of people in Crimson Dynamo suits.
Okay.
So the Federal Dynamo, the like most elite, will become the Crimson Dynamo.
All
And
right.
so she's in a room. She gets stopped by a Federal Dynamo, and she ends up like absolutely annihilating the crap out of this guy when she launches all of her Widow's bites at him and like kills him or stops the suit. It's kind of vague. Um, but she breaks into the room, and there's a bunch of guards, and the guards are like super excited. They're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! It's the Red Guardian's wife, the Black Widow." Because Red Guardian being like such a big hero for Russia. It's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! It's the test pilot that died loyally for us and then became Russia's Captain America, Captain Russia, pretty much." And
Mm,
they were all super excited. And that's when she talks about the Alexei thing. And so Nat finds some information on the Icepick protocol, and it flashes back to her first interaction with Iron Man. How Iron Man always knew that she was a Russian spy. Like he pretty much, when they were in that like date when she was seducing him, had her room programmed with like automated weapons that if she like if she tried to pull a gun or did anything to Iron Man, the room would just fry her. Like Gatling gun, RPG, self-destruct building kind of thing. Um, so um, a couple like they cut back to her, and she's left with the files on the Ice Pick protocol, and she realizes that she has to go to all the people she's had relationships with. The next person she goes to is Hawkeye, Clint, who by this point has been in a very serious relationship with Mockingbird, who is also known as Bobby Morris. I'll show you a picture of Mockingbird. I think that's her name. Bobby Morris. This is what she looks like. Um, this is her. This is her with Hawkeye. Um, this is her. If you play Marvel Champions, this is a very big image. Mockingbird doesn't have any special powers. She can kind of glide, and she has a staff. But she's another very prominent character. There's a lot of like feminism and ideas that go in with her. So what? Yeah, I can talk about her if anyone wants me to talk about her. But pretty much there are these nanites put in the serum that Natasha took, and anyone that Natasha's ever kissed, had sex with, blah 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 blah, they'll be transferred to the host, and then anything that they do anything with will be transferred to another host, and so on and so forth. Um, you know, Nat kissed Hawkeye back when they were dating. Bobby and Hawkeye are now in a relationship. They probably kissed, and now the nanites are going crazy in Bobby, and she stabs Clint. Like all she sees is Natasha's face, and she's like, I have to kill Natasha, kind of thing, and she stabs Clint in like the arm with a fork. And then the second she goes to stab, because they're like having breakfast or whatever, and the second she goes to stab him with the knife, Natasha jumps through the window, and when she goes to stab him, and she melts the knife with like the laser in her widow's bite, and Nat pins down Bobby Morse and just starts making out with her pretty much.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's very awesome scene. Um, Pretty much what she says is that while she was reading the Ice Pick protocol thingy, she found out that she can make an anti-serum where if she makes out with someone that has the serum, or if she like kisses them, she can transfer the nanites, the counter nanites in them, and then it'll be ineffective, and then nonsense of how to, it's just whatever.
Whoever wrote this was excessively horny.
Very. Dude, the amount of stuff about Black Widow, like the amount of stuff Black Widow had in here. There's a scene later on pretty much after this, she goes to see Hercules, who is a Marvel character. If you want to see what Hercules looks like, he's a really big buff dude. This is what Hercules looks like, in the comics.
Oh god damn.
Hercules is huge, and apparently he's set to make his debut in another Thor comic. He's a very big Thor character, and a prominent Avenger. But Hercules and Natasha had a relationship. When she goes to Hercules was in the middle of like a giant 5, 6, 7 girls on top of him and stuff, and all of them started seeing Natasha, and so they were all like, kill, must kill kind of thing. And this dude is like pretty much in his underwear getting attacked by an army of girls in their underwear. Like it's really funny.
Nice.
And he's like, they were just like regular girls or whatever, so he's like, I can't really kill them or hit them or anything because Hercules with the power of Zeus kind of slapping a regular girl, it doesn't really look too good, so he was just kind of letting them hit him. Natasha came in and made out with them, and again, girl in latex, girl in making out with a bunch of girls in bikinis. If you guys want to read this, I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. But pretty much it's like she's like, you're good with astrology because you're a god, right? Point me in the direction of north. And he's like, alright, that way, whatever. And she goes to Russia, where there's like a rocket ship being blasted. I meant to cut this out, I didn't get to say, but she also does there's this really nice scene with Daredevil. She also had a relationship with Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, where he doesn't want to see her because he had been helping her through her thing with Alexei and with Bucky, and he thought him and Nat were gonna be like serious, and then she left him because she kept saying like I'm too dangerous, I'm too dangerous. So he doesn't really want to see her. But she ends up giving him the serum for him to inject himself with. But eventually she goes to Russia and she gets into another rocket ship via getting like access codes from Shield. And when she gets there, there's a helicarrier in space, but it's like 100% Russian. It's like this it's painted in red, and it's when she lands, there's a giant like colossus looking thing inside a Crimson Dynamo statue, and you find
Okay.
out that, and this happens a lot in Black Widow comics. It's like plot twist after plot twist, but Ivan never killed himself, or he never died. He took his head and like brain or whatever and put it in a jar, and then put that jar in like a metal suit, and it was like super unstoppable, super whatever. And Ivan like shoots her with a rocket and crashes her and carries her in. And it's like, oh, you want drink vodka, Russian things. And
Hmm.
yeah, and so you find out, and this is really gross. You find out that Ivan was always jealous because he found Natasha attractive, which is really gross because Ivan was her father. Father again, not biological, but still very gross. And then she, pretty much what Natasha does is she takes the glass of vodka that he drank and put the she like analyzed it and put like the nanites in so that she could control his robotic weapons. And she puts a bunch of like C4s around the ship, and then Venom strikes um Ivan through the stomach, like just absolutely destroying him. Um, and she escapes, blows up the helicarrier, and that's the comic. That's pretty much it. It was mainly just like the whole thing with this comic was flashing back to Natasha's backstory and really getting into all the characters she's had sort of relationships with, mainly being like that mentor moment with Logan, her relationship with Daredevil, her earlier relationships with Bucky and Alexei, and then that brief thing with Hercules, and then talking about her experiences and how she came to be like such a big super spy. Um, and so a couple years before they made this, in 2004, Richard Morgan wrote the story of wrote like a it's another comic, um but it was a really nice Black Widow comic. So it starts off with a bunch of women like all around the world. So this woman named Anna is in London and her car blows up, and then there's a woman protesting in Alabama. She's protesting like women's rights to abortion and stuff like that, and she just explodes. And like a woman in Sydney, Osaka, Shanghai, a bunch of women just start exploding. Um, but
They just start exploding.
Spontaneous combustion.
Oh,
But
okay.
no, there's a reason behind why they explode, and that isn't covered until the very last comic. But there's a reason. Um, so on her way, Natasha's in Arizona. She's like hiding out. She doesn't want to be with anyone. Um, and she goes rock. She's gonna go rock climbing, and on her way to like her spot, this dude's car broke down, and he's like, "Oh hey, can you help me with my car?" She gets out, and the dude pulls a knife on her and tries to stab her, and she pretty much like stabs him. I think, yeah, she stabs him through like this. Um, I forget what it's called, but it's like the spot right under your heart, and pretty much she's like, you can choose to bleed to death or tell me who sent you to kill me. And the dude, complete Chad, chooses to die by bleeding out for like 20 hours,
Ah.
not saying a single word. Like absolute Chad right there. Um, and she's like, shit, I need to call in some favors and see who's trying to kill me. So she drives to Albuquerque to meet with this guy named Phil, who isn't Coulson from Shield. It's just some dude named Phil, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, and her and Phil are driving, and they stop at a gas station because he needs to like fill up his car. And there's like this stripper girl. She's like really young, 18. Her name's Sally Ann, and she was hitchhiking with these like really redneck dudes. And they were like, she got off at the gas station like, whoa, 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 you need to pay for that ride, ma'am. We don't give rides out for free. And they were pretty much saying like, do us sexual favors. And Natasha was super pissed, and she told him, she's like, you can leave now, or I'll make sure you never walk again. And they're like, what's a little girl like you gonna do to us? Right? They're like super hillbilly. And she shoots them in the like leg, and then rips out their spine with her bare hands. Like,
What?
pulls out their spines. She's like, I told them they'll never walk again. And Phil's just watching this. He didn't want to get involved, and he's just kind of like, oh, I don't want to, mess with this. Anyway, they take her to like a facility, and the two of them end up taking like a bullet train to Oklahoma, where Phil says that he used to work for Nick Fury, but was fired multiple times. And pretty much these like guys in suits, they're working for like this company up north. They're hunting Black Widow, and they open up her, like, these goons pretty much working for the suit guys open up her car, and it blows up. And it this is what it looks like. And it gets a lot worse because you can see their like organs and stuff while the two are taking cover. I decided to show this one because too much. So pretty much they head to the pro-choice lady who blew up, and they find out that she's been 3 months pregnant. And they go to her funeral. There was a military dude, and then just this blonde dude, not really important. Um, and so the military guy, Phil, follows him, and he finds out that the military dude was working for a company called Insert, which is Insurgency, Extract, Recon, and Terminate. And they make their way to the girl's home to check for clues, and they find out that she had a life outside of America. She had the same weapons Black Widow had, the Widow's Bite gauntlets, and like voicemails, as well as like loose loose floorboards with Russian passports, Russision currency, which Phil took. Phil took like $3,000 worth of cash from a dead lady's house.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
And a note saying from the 90s, mind you, most comics tend to stay true to their year. So it had been about 14, 15 years since the lady received this message, but it pretty much said return to Russia or take your chances in America. And she chose to stay because she was pregnant. Well, because she fell in love with who she finds out to be the sergeant, the military guy who gave her the prescriptions, these prescription painkillers, or like this military grade painkillers, as well as she had hormone like prescriptions for the baby. But the painkillers helped with like cramps and stuff, and they were like military grade as well. So because she hadn't been a Red Room person, but she was a spy, and she it's just a lot of things. But pretty much they go to the guy, or they call the guy and have him come, and the guy comes, and they do that thing where he points a gun at one guy, and then Nat comes from behind and points the gun at him. And he tells them that the kid is his, and that he had been giving her the painkillers. And right when they ask like why, a group of soldiers that were chasing them start gunning down the room, and one stray bullet through a window clips the military guy, killing him. And they're pinned down. Nat takes his gun and does the most badass move I've ever seen of rolling through gunfire, and then killing everyone, while only being shot once in the stomach.
Can I do that?
Maybe. I'm sure you could.
Okay.
With like 100+ years worth of training and
Okay.
immortality.
Okay, that sucks. Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
don't do that.
she was really injured, and she does the second most Chad thing in the comic of healing herself with a bottle of liquor. Um, yeah, like just pulls out the bullet, liquor, cauterize, and done. And throughout the entire comic, she is fine.
Nice.
Yeah. Uh, Meanwhile, you cut to a farm where there's a stripper or prostitute. It's not really confirmed, but pretty much the lady, the very nice lady, goes to a farm and she's Russian as well, and she's like, I need a place to stay, and she gets sniped in the forehead by the farmers on a cell tower. It is the
No.
craziest. Yeah, it is wild. This dude is just watching her, and she's like, "Hello, anyone here?" Gets shot in the forehead, laying down, and then a pack of dogs come and eat her skin.
What?
Yeah, these dudes are like, they don't give a damn.
The KGB.
Yeah. um, so they get home and they like try and dump all the evidence together, and the guy that tried stabbing her Nat in the beginning, she ripped off his finger, and the finger had this ring on it, and it pretty much means that it was like a you were working for the red room. um and you find out that the that Natasha needs to break into like this old lady's room, and the old lady's husband, who is very young, not as young as you think, not like 20, but like probably like 40 to the lady's like 70. um you find out that, or maybe it's her daughter, it's unclear. But you find out that he was working for the Russian Red Room and had been working under a project called 2R, where they have officials, like government officials, trying to bring back anyone who is Russian to Russia,
Okay.
or kill them. If they don't, they're dead. Um, so then Natasha, like, she had some dirt on this guy, and she's pretty much like, so who's Krista? And the dude had been like laced with truth serum, and so he's like he's like laying down. He's like, Krista was a girl that I had been talking to. I found out that she was only 17 and had been secretly in a relationship with her, and it was like really gross. And then pretty much what ends up happening is um Phil and Sally Ann, who they left her because they were in like, they picked her up because they went to Washington and they needed to keep her safe. um the two of them were in the car, and Natasha like comes back down and into the car, and they drive off, and Phil had been giving her like stuff to drink, like alcohol, and the guy like just blurred everything to Nat, and pretty much they leave. The two cops pull up a little late, the cops that had been hunting down Natasha, and the second they're like, damn, we missed her, this dude throws himself out the window and kills himself, like 70 stories off the window, just jumps out because he's like, everybody will know my secret now. And so he jumps out, kills himself, and the two cops, one of which, the main guy, is a dude named I think his name was Hunter, but yeah, Hunter. And they had been working for a guy. They had been working for like a special company. Um, Mind you, this is the OG Nick Fury, so he wasn't like, he didn't look like Samuel Jackson. He was really white.
Okay.
And so they had been trying to get information on a guy named Martin Ferris, who was like a martial artist sniper dude, and his biggest weakness that they say is strippers. So Natasha poses. This is another comic that you guys might like. Natasha poses as a stripper and heads to the strip club that he was in Washington, and gives him. She pretty much like gives him a lap dance, and she's like, "Hey, you want to come to like your bedroom or whatever? Like, you could take me to your room if you want." And she like ties him up, and he's like, "Ooh, we're getting kinky." And then she laces him with truth serum, and like uh, uh, she hits him with like the truth serum, a bunch of like shrooms, like hallucinogens and shit, and then an aphrodisiac. And she's like, this guy has to talk. When he's horny, on drugs, and in truth serum, there's no way his military training will ever be able to stop me. And he does. This dude is having the most like trippy like truth serum session ever. But pretty much he says that he had been working for 2R, which was the bring all the Russian people back, but also for a company called Gynecon. And Gynecon focuses on cosmetic surgery, so like, nose jobs and like all that kind of stuff. boob jobs, and all that kind of stuff. But they had been working on anti-aging hormones, like the ones they found in Stacy's home. Um, and so um, she tells him that they were working east, like in back in Russia, and that if she wanted to find anything out, she needed to head to Moscow. So she gets a bunch of names and addresses in Moscow, and she goes to the first address, and she got whatever, but she couldn't. Pretty much, she goes through like a bunch of addresses until she gets to like this one room, which is like an abandoned house, like mansion thing, apartment, and in one of the rooms is her surgical procedures playing, like the surgery of removing her like sexual reproduction organs, and she like panics and punches the camera, and a bunch of cops come in and like we heard breaking, and then this old kind of decrepit dude kind of was in there, and he's like, these guys don't care about you, come with me. And she's like, I don't really think I should. And he pretty much they get into a gunfight. Bullets start coming, and she ends up going with this old white dude who turns out to be like a psychology professor, but had been working for Russia. And he takes her to like an attic where he said that he worked on every single Black Widow, including her. And that and she pretty much she's like asking him like, why did you make us sterile, why did you lie to us, because she for the longest time in her life she believed herself to be a ballerina, but she was always a super spy. So it's like the ballerina thing is a good cover for your spy, and it's I cut out all your organs because of national pride kind of thing. And she pretty much finds out that he had been working with someone who was in a biotech company out by the west. So Natasha, she needs to seduce another guy, so she dresses up like a prostitute, and picks up a guy, and then steals his car. She pretty much just like she's like in like a whatever, like her like lingerie and then like a overcoat, and she's like, oh, you should pick me up, whatever. And the guy's like, okay, I'll pick you up. And he's like, here, get in my car. And then she closes like, yeah, take me somewhere more private. And then he pulls into like an alleyway, and she pulls a gun on him and said, get out of the car. It was really great. Honestly, some of this is awesome. And then she drives off, picks up the old dude, and then they head off to the farm where the one girl got sniped. And pretty much the old bait and switch tactic there. Um, Pretty much they talk to the old lady, this old like lady. Her name is Ludmila, the Wicked Witch of the East, is what they call her. But she had been working on a pill, so that it was an anti-aging pill that healed people 4 times faster than they normally would. Um, and they would remain the same age as long as they took the pill. So, the lady who died in the pro-life lady was a lady named Stefania, who was a Black Widow but never went through the surgery. She got pregnant, and the pill suppressed the baby's growth. So, yeah, pretty much that's what they found out about her. Meanwhile, in Albuquerque, Phil was with Susan Ann or whatever her name was, Sue Ann or whatever, the other girl, and they had ordered food, and the delivery boy got intercepted by Hunter, the cop that was hunting them, and they like beat the crap out of Phil and took the girl. Um, Phil was in the ICU. He had like 3 bombs strapped to him and still survived and like was shot up. And Natasha heads to New Mexico, Albuquerque, and she wants to know who's hunting her and why. And she finds out the guy Hunter's partner is this girl. She also does the same move of going to get food and then getting caught up. There had been another stripper girl, Russian girl, that was in their room. She walked in, Nat pulled a gun on her, made her take off her clothes so she looked like one of the strippers, tied her up, and then waited for Hunter to come. Hunter pulled his car up, and then Natasha, like, with her like pretty much seduction techniques, walked up to the car. Um, and he was like, "Oh, look at this girl," and she ends up like he ends up like rolling his window down. He's like, "Hey, baby," and she shoots him in the kneecap, throws a grenade in his car, and then walks away. He like blows up, and then Fury, like Nick Fury, had been watching in a bar. He was like, "Hell yeah, let's go!" I didn't like those guys anyway, and it was great. And she heads over to Miami, and in Miami, the leader of Gynecon, um, this like older dude, and uh this other guy, a Russian dude named Vasily Ulyanova, who was working for the North. It's the company that was hunting Natasha, and
Okay.
he's like this really big buff bodyguard dude. He hears her breaking in and like killing her guards, so he's like, "You can come out now," pretty much. And Nat and Vasily fight. Vasily kind of beats the crap out of her, but then she like, you know when the guy's on the floor and then they do that like uppercut, you didn't see this coming kind of hit. She pretty
Yeah.
much does that, breaks his nose, and then um beats the crap out of him, and then turns to the old guy. The old guy's name is Ian McMasters. And he explains that they killed Sally on the boat, and she died from internal bleeding, and so she ends up killing the shit out of them, like really badly. Like he drowns the dude over his boat and shoots the guy in the forehead. And that's how the comic ends. It's really dark. Phil ended up being in the ICU after taking 3 explosives strapped to his chest. Sally died, and Natasha killed everyone.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
pretty dark.
yeah, there's
I'd say.
a lot of Natasha stories are like this. Most of Natasha stories are like spy stories, where spy mysteries, where at the end of the comic, it's kind of like, oh, who had done it, kind of thing, right? Recently, the last comic I read with Natasha wasn't actually a Black Widow comic. As you guys know, Black Widow's main nemesis, when she became an Avenger, was the Taskmaster. So her comic came in a Taskmaster comic. Her latest stuff, pretty much in that comic, it's still ongoing, so I haven't finished it. But of what is going on, Taskmaster has been framed for killing Maria Hill. um, Maria Hill is the head of Shield, and she faked her death, used Taskmaster's shield to frame him, and then Natasha, being so close to Maria, the entire time had been hunting him down while Taskmaster goes all over the world. He went to Wakanda, he went to DC and Korea, talking to they called him the Big Three, which was Phil Coulson, who had been running his own Secret Avengers team, um, this Korean lady, if you remember the Doctor from Age of Ultron, who had been running her own Korean Avengers team, and Okoye, the Dora Milaje lady from Black Panther with the spear. He had Taskmaster infiltrated their homes and pretty much stole their DNA by copying it. Taskmaster can copy anything, so he managed to down to like DNA, and so he managed to copy the 3 of them, their eye like retinal scans. And it is a really good comic. There's one of the members of the Avengers, of Coulson's Avengers, is Hyperion, who is pretty much a Superman character. Flies, shoots lasers, super strong, can't take damage. Literally kills the crap out of him with God knows what rock. Like, oh, I think he hits him with like an anti-venom that chokes him up or something, and it was one of the coolest things ever. Like, slowed him down, hit him with the anti-venom, and then he started like choking up and dying. It's a really nice comic. It's the current Taskmaster one, but that is Natasha entirely. Of what I have come, most of what she is. If you have any questions about her, now's the time to ask.
I think you went really in depth. I don't have any questions.
Yeah, there's
You covered
she
everything, I think.
um so with the black I mean the Red Room, Black Widow, with the Red Room project, they didn't really establish that until the 90s. The Red Room never was a thing up until like 1999, 2000 almost. And don't remember when she joined the Avengers. I would have to read a lot more of those original Avengers, but she was very prominent in like Avengers number 25 and 26 with Hawkeye. Um, Anytime there would be like a Hawkeye, like a solo Hawkeye story, she would appear. She has a lot of other like Black Widow and Hawkeye, Black Widow and this character, Black Widow and Daredevil is a very big one. If you guys want to read any of that, but that's pretty much Black Widow. Um, I know you guys wanted to vote on characters. You guys can, and I will leave the poll up for about 2 weeks. I have the next week is the end of the month, and as you guys know, the end of the month means I cover a superhero event. This week's event, or well, yeah, this week's event or next week's event will be Civil War, and following that, I will be covering Shang-Chi for the release of the new movie. Um, After that, if you guys want to talk about you want me to talk about any other characters, feel free to drop that in the poll. I will leave it open for a while so that you guys can all vote on those characters. The link will be in the Discord. Um, yeah. Um, probably should work on making them before so I can drop them here in chat, but I'll send it to you guys whatever way I can. Thank you guys so much for watching. That was Black Widow, and yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Peace, peace, peace.